Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and it is SH Figuarts Space Time! This is Kamen Rider Fourze in his base states, the kickoff point for his series of module-bearing Figuarts releases. Let's sit down and settle the quality of this figure one-on-one. Fourze's sculpt hits most of the major details, taking a slight liberty in giving Gentaro a slimmer build in suit than that of the physical costume. As with the Kabuto Figuarts sculpts, I don't mind this artistic license. Fourze is a youthful character, and since the suit details remain realistic, I don't mind the proportions getting a little bit comic book-esque. Oh, also, there are delicious compound eyes, as always. I do find myself a little bit disappointed in the paint, though. The black and light gray panel linings are great, but the lack of lining on Fourze's forearms and shins sticks out like a sore thumb. Furthermore, his primary white coloring feels strangely yellowed in person, and my own figure has rarely seen sunlight. It feels as though a pearlescent finish was added that caused the hue to go off-kilter. Fourze looks fine on his own, but standing him with other largely white Figuarts releases makes him look like he didn't properly wash his suit. That brings us to the Fourze driver. I very much like how this was done, but mine also holds together really well, and apparently that's rare. There have been many reports of the belt crumbling into its component parts with as little as a light jostle, so bear in mind your experiences may vary from my own. If it is loose, bust out the floor polish. Possible QC leprosy aside, I think this looks great, missing only a graphic on the central display. Fourze is a bit light on hands for a Figuarts release, coming with only 3 pairs. He has fists for punching and gaining buddies, calm open hands for chilling out like a bancho, and slightly pointing hands for declaring a one-on-one fight in a kinda lackadaisical way. They swap easily and have a uniform quality of detail, par for the Figuarts course. I'm pretty sure a wider range of hand options were sacrificed for the sake of the included rocket and drill modules. These look awesome, with good sculpts and full-on panel lining paint applications. Swapping modules onto Fourze is as simple as pulling off his forearms or shins. I was worried this would make for a lot of scary moments, but it is far easier to do than the Tiger and Bunny good luck mode limb swaps. The modules look cool when mounted on Fourze, though their lack of special effects make them seem a tad vanilla. Luckily, there's a solution for that, which we'll see in an upcoming review. A second drill switch for the Fourze driver is also included, with an almost imperceptibly different sculpt to represent its on position. While I appreciate this insane degree of attention to detail, it honestly was not necessary. The fact that the rocket switch lacks a slightly more compressed counterpart almost illustrates that in and of itself. Also, these Figuarts scale switches are predictably easy to lose, so don't drop them. The power cosmic must be handled with care. And a floor lined with scotch tape. So if you're watching this, you probably already know how posable SH Figuarts are. They're, in a word, hell of posable. The head can waggle around, you can pretend that this guy is actually a rocket ship with a body attached to it, and the body's posable enough to kind of flail around behind it as it flies off into its trajectory. The only things really worth pointing out on this guy are a few strangeties. His shoulders do not have any kind of, like, flapping shoulder pad that's separate. This is actually just part of the sculpt. And I think it works really well. I actually like this more than if this was some kind of flapping separate piece over a tiny inner shoulder. I think this accomplishes things much more smoothly. Also, due to the module change gimmick, he's got a bicep swivel, and a wrist swivel, and then like a sort of pointless forearm swivel if you really want to have this symbol showing in some other direction. I'm sure this will actually come in handy with the other modules more so than on the base figure. His ab crunch, I guess, is not perfect, but he gets another ab crunch down at his waist, so it doesn't really matter. This thing is actually slightly posable as well. It is crumbly, but on mine, I don't have too much of a problem. You can move this part, so you can actually pose him pulling the switch. And as you can see, that's bumping the rocket switch. Now on mine, the thing's just jostling, but on other people's, this thing will often fall off. So be prepared for the switches on here, as I mentioned before, to just kind of like crumble off and leave you with tiny bouncing clear blue pieces of plastic lying all over your floor. Again, I think I just lucked out on at least the ones that are attached to this belt, so I'll see in future how this turns out. He's got the hips where you pull them down to swing them farther forward. I had a somewhat tight, clicky hip joint, so I put some dry soap in there to smoothen it up. This one was nice and oily smooth right out of the box. He doesn't have like a below-the-knee swivel because the connection point here is square for this module change piece. His ankles are great. They're all plastic, like his feet are plastic, but he has a really decent bit of ankle posability, so it's not like the days of the O's Figuarts where things got strange. And just in case you need it, blam, toes. So he's pretty good. And the best part is that with this little guy, you too can have your own best buddy. Fourze's Figuarts base states is a solid release, in my opinion. The main weakness on mine are the strange decisions and executions in the application of colors to the figure. Other than that, I've found this guy to be one of the most toyetically fun Figuarts releases in a while, thanks to the combination of a cool module swap gimmick and a solid set of joints. However, I also lucked out in that my copy of his Fourze driver holds together really well. I could see a crumbly belt getting in the way of the experience, so be prepared to tighten up those pegs. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and those modules were only the beginning. Fourze has brought a new era of accessorization to SH Figuarts, and that means we've got a lot of strange boxes of bits and pieces on the horizon of our youth. Or at least, our mental youth. Wait!